honest with the EPA and the California Air Resources Board and with all of you. And in my German words, we have totally screwed up.
Let's get to some fact. General Motors knew all about the flawed ignition switches in their cars and the dangers they presented, yet they chose to cover it up, and in the end, they cost people lives. This from an auto manufacturer that lied when they said safety was their first concern. What Volkswagen did was nothing nearly so heinous. But lie they did, cover it up they certainly did. And in this case, they decided not to even try and mount a defense, not when the EPA hits them with the discovery of almost 500,000 vehicles fitted with a device that would manipulate U.S. emission testing, spewing more toxic gas into the air when no one was looking for it. So you've got to ask yourselves again, what are other car builders getting away with that can be ecologically disastrous and potentially deadly to you and your family? Ask the expert, the nationally syndicated car coach who builds them, drives them, takes them apart, and puts them back together again better than anybody, Lauren Fix. Lauren, here we go. Now we have several U.S. states talking about getting into Volkswagen's kitchen, seeing what they can talk about. But let's get back to the basic here. This was a blatant try to go ahead and bypass U.S. emission standards here, and they got caught. How can we trust anybody now, knowing what we've seen from GM and Volkswagen?
Oh, it's not just GM and Volkswagen. Every manufacturer has been underneath the looking glass lately, not just by the EPA, but also by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. This was an accidental catch by the California Air Research Board. Mind you, this is not the first time this has happened. In 1995, Cadillac was caught doing the exact same thing with their defeat software. In 1998, the commercial trucks that you see on the road with diesel, they got caught doing the same thing. And listen, we had ignition switches, unintended acceleration, Takata airbags. Every industry out there has some sort of person within it or people within it that are causing these type of things, all for the, what else? Money. It's always about money and saving face. Now, here's some of the thoughts on why they would have even done this. First off, CAFE standards here in the U.S. are 35.5 miles to the gallon. And Nissan and all the rest of the manufacturers have said, oh, this is just an isolated incident. Well, listen, every single manufacturer out there is trying to reach this number. So in order for them to reach this number, we need diesel vehicles, which are only about 3% of sales and about half the sales in Europe. Right now, we're looking at 11 million VW vehicles worldwide, not here in the U.S., from 2009 to 2015, and it's only a 2-liter diesel engine, not the rest of the lineup. And I will, full disclosure, I own a diesel Porsche Cayenne, and I'm totally in love with it. However, I will tell you, the other engines are not a problem. What they're doing is when the car is getting tailpipe tested, there is a note that the car is in park, the traction control is shut off like it's supposed to be, and a sniffer is put on the rear end and only rear wheels are moving, it sends this sort of software to say, okay, it's being emission tested, we will bypass that and make it look cleaner than it is. Now, what the California Air Research Board found that only under full load, that is defined as when you're putting your foot on it to pass another vehicle, the vehicle engines were between 10 and 40 times more nitrous oxide coming out the tailpipe. Now, does that impact you in a safety standard? No. Do ignition switch failures, airbag failures, and unintended acceleration kill people? Yes.
Okay, now let me
look at the penalties. It infuriates me.
Let me stop you there because we've only got about 40 seconds left. I want to ask you this then. Knowing that every manufacturer will try to cheat, do we then go to the EPA and NHTSA and others and say, you're not doing your job, you're the ones who are not cracking down, and you're the ones letting people get away with this?
I think it's a combination. I think, one, they shouldn't be cheating, and two, EPA and NHTSA should have been doing their job all along. The fact that they missed it is their fault. The fact that the manufacturers are trying to cheat the system, it's also their fault. So two wrongs never make a right. Note also, I want you to look at the lobbying numbers. GM has spent $157 million in lobbyists, and VW's only spent $17 million. Interesting how the penalty for GM was substantially less than that of VW. We had 124 deaths. There's a lot more coming on this, and it's far from over.
Let's talk about the lobbyists next time we get together, and let's talk about what they do to manufacturers and what people have to worry about in that. There's a whole other story we got to talk about. Don't forget, go to the website, laurenfix.com. Talk about this, find out about cars, everything you need to know automotive. Lauren Fix, always a pleasure, dear. Talk to you again real soon. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes of news, The Hard Line, continues.